You wore that to Mom's funeral? Rachel's voice cut through the church lobby like a knife. Her diamond bracelet caught the light as she gestured at my plain black dress, her lip curled in disgust. I mean, I know you're struggling, but really? Couldn't you have borrowed something decent? I stood there, silent, letting her words hang in the air. What Rachel didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the cheap dress she was mocking, I designed it. The limited edition heels she was wearing? My brand. The boutique where she bought that overpriced handbag last week? I own it. And the modeling contract she'd been bragging about for months? Cancelled. By me. This morning. My name is Elise Morgan. And today, at my mother's funeral, I'm about to teach my family a lesson they'll never forget. The morning started like any funeral does. Gray skies, heavy hearts, expensive outfits worn like armor. I pulled up in my 10-year-old Prius, parking between Blake's leased Mercedes and Rachel's borrowed Porsche. Through the church windows, I could see them already. Dad in his outdated Armani, Blake checking his phone, Rachel posing near the flowers like she was at a photo shoot. They looked like money, but I was money. I slipped through the side entrance, hoping to avoid the circus, but Aunt Martha cornered me immediately. Oh, Elise, darling, how's the little boutique? Little boutique. I smiled. It's doing well, thank you. You know, she whispered, my neighbor's daughter sells jewelry on Etsy. Maybe you two should connect. Share tips? I nodded politely. If only she knew I'd just closed a $40 million deal with Nordstrom. But they were about to find out. One brutal reveal at a time. The funeral service was beautiful. Mom would have hated it. She never liked the performative mourning, the designer tissues, the way people used grief as an excuse to show off. But here we were, Newport's elite, dressed to the nines, pretending to care. I sat in the back row, alone. Rachel sat front and center, dabbing her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. Blake gave a rehearsed eulogy about family values. Dad stood stoic, playing the strong patriarch. And me? I was invisible, just like always. After the service, everyone gathered in the church hall for the reception. Crystal chandeliers, catered hors d'oeuvres, open bar. It looked more like a cocktail party than a wake. I grabbed a glass of water and tried to blend into the wallpaper. Elise? I turned. It was Blake, his smile tight and patronizing. Hey sis, holding up okay? I'm fine. He glanced at my dress again, the same look Rachel had given me, pity mixed with secondhand embarrassment. Listen, he said, lowering his voice. I know things have been tough for you since the boutique thing. If you need help, I can connect you with some people. Maybe get you a real job? A real job. I swallowed my anger. That's kind of you, Blake. But I'm managing. Are you, though? He leaned in, his cologne suffocating. Because Dad's worried. We all are. You're almost 40, Elise. No husband, no kids. Running some online store out of your apartment. I don't run it out of my apartment. You know what I mean. He patted my shoulder. Just think about it, okay? We're family. We want to help. I watched him walk away, back to his circle of banker friends, back to his world of leased luxury and borrowed confidence. He had no idea. None of them did. I built my brand from nothing. While they were spending Dad's money on country club memberships and European vacations, I was working 18-hour days, learning design, studying business, failing and rebuilding until I got it right. I started with a single dress, posted it online, sold it for $200, then another, and another. Within 2 years, I had a following. Within 5, I had a brand. Within 10, I had an empire. But I never told them. Never corrected their assumptions. Never showed up in the luxury car or the designer labels they'd recognize. Because I learned something important. Invisibility is power. When people underestimate you, they show you who they really are. They drop their guards. They reveal their cruelty, their insecurity, their true colors. And my family? They'd been revealing themselves for years. Rachel had mocked my clothes at every family gathering. Blake had offered to help with condescending job leads. Dad had introduced me as my daughter who's into fashion, with air quotes, like it was a cute hobby. They never asked about my work, never visited my flagship store in Soho, never wondered how I afforded my penthouse in Manhattan. They just assumed I was struggling, and I let them. But today was different. Because this morning, before the funeral, I received an email. Ms. Morgan, the acquisition is complete. You are now the majority shareholder of Morgan and Associates Financial Group. Blake's bank, my brother's entire career, now mine. And he had no idea he was talking to his new boss. Elise, there you are. Rachel glided over, champagne in hand, her Valderie dress hugging every curve. She looked like she belonged on a runway, not at a funeral. I've been looking for you everywhere, she said, though I doubted that was true. We need to talk. About what? She looped her arm through mine, pulling me toward a quieter corner. Her perfume was overwhelming, something expensive and aggressive. So, I have amazing news, she said, her eyes sparkling. Remember that modeling contract I told you about? The one with Marceau Collective? I remember. Well, they want me for their spring campaign. Exclusive. Paris, Milan, New York. I'm talking billboards, magazine covers, the works. She waited for me to react, to gush, to be impressed. I sipped my water. That's great, Rachel. Her smile faltered. That's it? Just, that's great? What else do you want me to say? I don't know. Maybe, congratulations? Or wow? Or literally, anything that shows you're happy for me? She pulled away, crossing her arms. You know what your problem is, Elise. You're bitter. You can't stand seeing other people succeed. I could have laughed. I could have told her right then that Marceau Collective was one of my subsidiary brands, that I'd personally reviewed her contract, that I'd signed the cancellation notice this morning after overhearing her mock a young designer at last month's charity gala. But I didn't. Not yet. I'm not bitter, Rachel. I'm proud of you. She studied me suspiciously, then her expression softened. Okay. Good. Because honestly, I've been worried about you. Worried? Yeah. I mean, she gestured at my outfit again. Look at you. You're drowning, Elise. And it's sad. You used to have so much potential. Used to? You know what I mean. You were smart, creative. You could have done something real with your life. But instead, you're playing dress up in some tiny studio, selling, what? T-shirts? Scarves? She said it like I was selling friendship bracelets at a farmer's market. Something like that, I said quietly. Look, Rachel continued, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to help. Maybe it's time to admit this fashion thing isn't working out. You could come work for me. I'm going to need an assistant once this campaign takes off. The pay won't be great, but at least you'd have steady income. An assistant. To my baby sister, who was wearing my shoes. I smiled. A real smile this time. That's a generous offer, Rachel. I'll think about it. You should. Because honestly, she leaned in, lowering her voice. People are starting to talk. Dad won't say it, but he's embarrassed. Blake thinks you're a charity case. And me? I just want my sister back. The one who used to care about herself. She squeezed my hand, her diamonds cold against my skin. We love you, Elise, but you need to get your life together. Then she walked away, back to her admirers, back to her champagne and compliments and blissful ignorance. I stood there, alone in the corner, invisible again, but inside, I was smiling. Because in 3 days, Rachel would receive a call from Marceau Collective, a call informing her that her contract had been terminated. And when she asked why, they'd tell her, creative direction from ownership. She'd never know it was me, not until I wanted her to. The reception dragged on. More fake condolences. More champagne. More of my family pretending we were close. I was about to leave when Dad found me. Elise. A word? He gestured toward his office, an attached room the church reserved for important families. Of course Dad had claimed it. I followed him inside. The door clicked shut. He sat behind the desk like he was conducting a board meeting, not mourning his wife. I'll make this quick, he said. Your mother left you something in her will. I straightened. She did? A letter. And some jewelry. He slid an envelope across the desk. I haven't read it. That's between you and her. I picked it up, my hands trembling. There's something else, Dad continued. I'm concerned about you, Elise. Your brother and sister have expressed worries. Worries. About your financial situation, your career, your future. He leaned back, studying me like a disappointing investment. I built this family from nothing. I gave you every opportunity. And yet, here you are, at 40, with nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it. I could have corrected him, could have told him about the empire I'd built, the money I'd made, the respect I'd earned in an industry he knew nothing about. But I didn't. I'm doing fine, Dad. Are you? He opened a folder. Because I've done some research. This brand of yours, Atelier Noir. I looked it up. Couldn't find much. A website, some social media, nothing substantial. I bit back a smile. Atelier Noir was my private label, the one I used for custom clients and exclusive pieces. My main brand, Morgan Collective, operated under a parent company he'd never think to connect to me. It's a small operation, I said carefully. Exactly my point. He closed the folder. Which is why I'm making you an offer. Come work for Morgan and Associates. I'll create a position for you. Marketing, maybe. Or HR. Something stable. I appreciate that, but it's not a request, Elise. His voice hardened. Your mother's death has reminded me how fragile life is, how important family is. I won't have my daughter struggling while the Morgan name means something in this city. The Morgan name, the same name I'd built my empire on, the same name that was about to become synonymous with fashion, not finance. I'll think about it, I said. Don't think too long. He stood, signaling the conversation was over. This offer won't last forever. I'm trying to help you before it's too late. Before it's too late. I walked out of that office, clutching my mother's letter, my heart pounding. They all thought they were helping me, saving me, rescuing me from my little failed dream. But they were about to learn something my mother already knew. I opened the envelope in my car. Inside was a handwritten letter and a small velvet box. My dearest Elise, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm so sorry I never got to see you shine the way you deserve. I knew about your brand. I knew about your success. I've known for years. I never told them because I understood. You needed to do this on your own, without their judgment, without their interference. I'm so proud of you. The earrings in this box were your grandmother's. She was a seamstress who never got to follow her dreams. But you did. You became everything she wished she could be. Don't let them dim your light, sweetheart. Show them who you really are. All my love, Mom. I opened the box. Diamond earrings, vintage, priceless, and beneath them, a flash drive. I didn't open the flash drive that night. I went home to my penthouse, the one my family had never visited, and sat by the window overlooking Manhattan. The city glittered below me, 1,000 lights marking 1,000 dreams. My mother knew. The entire time, she knew. And she never said a word. I thought about all the family dinners where I'd sat silent while they mocked my little hobby. All the holidays where they'd asked, "Still doing the fashion thing?" Like it was a phase I'd grow out of. Mom had watched it all, said nothing, protected my secret, because she understood. The next morning, I finally plugged in the flash drive. It contained folders, dozens of them, years of photos. Mom at my first pop-up shop, standing in the back where I wouldn't see her. Mom at my Soho store opening, hidden behind sunglasses. Mom at New York Fashion Week, sitting in the audience while my designs walked the runway. She'd been there. Every step, every milestone, every moment my family had missed because they were too busy underestimating me. I scrolled through the photos, tears streaming down my face. The last folder was labeled, "For when you're ready." Inside was a single document, a letter of recommendation, written by my mother, to the board of Morgan and Associates Financial Group. To whom it may concern, I am writing to recommend my daughter, Elise Morgan, for consideration as a strategic acquisition candidate or board member for Morgan and Associates. While my husband and son view her fashion career as frivolous, I have watched her build a multi-million-dollar empire through intelligence, creativity, and ruthless business acumen. Her brand, Morgan Collective, generates more annual revenue than Blake's division at the bank. Her business practices are sound, her vision is clear, her leadership is exceptional. If this company hopes to survive the next generation, it needs innovators like Elise, not legacy admissions like Blake. I trust you'll give her the consideration she deserves, the consideration her own family has failed to provide. Respectfully, Margaret Morgan. It was dated 3 months before she died. She'd sent it to the board, to Dad's colleagues, to the people who controlled the company Blake thought he'd inherit. And they'd listened, because 2 weeks ago, I'd received an offer to acquire controlling interest in Morgan and Associates. An offer I'd accepted without knowing who'd paved the way. It was Mom. She'd orchestrated everything. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. "OMG emergency, call me." I dialed. "Elise." She was crying. "They canceled my contract. Marceau Collective just dropped me." "What? Why?" "I don't know. They won't tell me. Just said something about creative direction from ownership. What does that even mean?" I closed my eyes. "I'm sorry, Rachel. That's awful. I'm ruined. This was supposed to be my big break. How am I supposed to pay rent now? How am I supposed to show my face in this industry? Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe you can appeal." "There's no appeal. The contract is void. I'm blacklisted, Elise. Blacklisted." She was spiraling, panic shredding her voice. "Rachel, breathe. You'll figure this out." "Easy for you to say," she sobbed. "You don't have anything to lose." Nothing to lose. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the window. My mother had given me the truth, the tools, and the opportunity. Now it was my turn. Tomorrow, I'd walk into Morgan and Associates for the first time. Not as Elise the failure, but as Elise Morgan, their new boss. The next morning, I dressed carefully, not in my usual understated style, but in power. A custom Morgan Collective suit, charcoal gray, razor-sharp lines, impossible to ignore. The kind of outfit that cost more than Rachel's monthly rent. The kind that whispered wealth without saying a word. I pulled up to Morgan and Associates in a car I'd never driven in front of my family, a midnight blue Tesla Model S Plaid. Quiet, sleek, expensive. The receptionist didn't recognize me. "I'm here for the board meeting," I said. She glanced at her computer, confused. "I don't have you on the list. Can I get your name?" "Elise Morgan." Her face went white. "Oh, oh, Ms. Morgan, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize. They said the new stakeholder was named Morgan, but I thought, it's fine. Where's the boardroom?" She pointed down the hall with a shaking hand. I walked past my father's portrait on the wall, past Blake's office, past the legacy my family thought belonged to them. The boardroom was full. 12 executives, all in expensive suits, all looking at me with confusion and curiosity. And at the head of the table, my father and Blake. Dad's face went from confusion to recognition to shock in 3 seconds. "Elise, what are you doing here?" "I'm here for the meeting." Blake laughed. "This is a board meeting, Elise. You can't just walk into—" "She's not walking in," one of the executives said. "She's the new majority shareholder." Silence. Beautiful, perfect silence. Blake's smile evaporated. "What?" "Ms. Morgan acquired controlling interest in the company last week," the executive continued. "She now owns 52% of Morgan and Associates." Dad stood, his face red. "That's impossible. We would have been notified." "You were notified," I said calmly. "The acquisition documents were sent to all board members. You just didn't realize the buyer was me." "But how? You don't have that kind of money." "Don't I?" I placed my bag on the table, pulled out a folder, slid it across to my father. "Morgan Collective, Atelier Noir, Noir House Boutiques, 11 retail locations, 43 million in revenue last year, strategic partnerships with Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, and Net-a-Porter." I met his eyes. "I built an empire, Dad, while you were embarrassed by my little hobby." Blake grabbed the folder, scanning the documents, his face going pale. "This can't be real. You're a boutique owner. You drive a Prius. You wear—" He gestured at me, then stopped. Because today, I didn't look like the failure they'd imagined. Today, I looked like exactly what I was. Someone who'd outplayed them all. "How long?" Dad's voice was barely a whisper. "How long have you been lying to us?" "I never lied. I just never corrected your assumptions." I sat down at the table, crossing my legs. "You assumed I was struggling because I didn't perform wealth the way you do. You assumed my business was failing because I didn't brag about it at dinner parties. You assumed I needed your help because I didn't ask for your approval." Blake slammed the folder down. "This is insane. You can't just buy Dad's company." "I didn't buy Dad's company. I bought a failing financial group that's been hemorrhaging money for 3 years. I turned to the executives. Which brings me to my first order of business: restructuring." Blake's face went gray. "Effective immediately, I'm implementing new leadership." "Blake, you're being moved to a consulting role." "You're demoting me?" "I'm keeping you employed." "Barely." Dad looked like he'd been punched, and I'd never felt more powerful. The boardroom erupted. Blake was shouting. Dad was demanding explanations. The executives were trying to restore order. But I just sat there, calm, collected, in control. "This is unacceptable," Blake roared. "You can't just storm in here and destroy everything we've built." "You haven't built anything, Blake." I opened another folder. "Your division has underperformed for 3 consecutive years. Client retention is down 40%. You've lost 2 major accounts in 6 months. The only reason you still have a job is because of Dad's name." That's not true." "It's all true. It's in the quarterly reports you clearly haven't read." I slid copies across the table. "Meanwhile, you've been leasing luxury cars you can't afford, taking clients to dinners you expense to the company, and pretending you're a success." His face was crimson now. You have no right. I have every right. I own this company now. Dad finally spoke, his voice dangerously quiet. Why are you doing this, Elise? Why? I turned to him. Because you spent my entire life telling me I wasn't enough. Because you introduced me as your daughter who's into fashion, like it was a joke. Because you offered me a pity job in my own company's acquisition target without realizing who you were talking to. I was trying to help you. You were trying to fix me. There's a difference. I stood. I don't need fixing, Dad. I never did. I just needed you to see me. The room was silent. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. Blake will transition to a reduced role. His salary will reflect his actual performance. Dad, you'll remain as a board advisor, but strategic decisions now go through me. And if we refuse? Dad asked. Then I'll vote you both out entirely. Your choice. Blake looked at Dad. Dad looked at the executives. The executives looked at their papers. No one was on their side. Because business isn't about legacy or family pride. It's about results. And I had them. They didn't. You're making a mistake, Dad said finally. This company has been in our family for 30 years. And in 30 years, you never thought to include me in that family. I picked up my bag. Meeting adjourned. My assistant will send you the restructuring proposal by end of day. I walked toward the door. Elise. I stopped, turned. Dad looked older suddenly, smaller. Your mother would be ashamed of you. The words hit like a slap, but I smiled. No, Dad. She'd be proud. She was always proud. You just never bothered to ask her. I left him there, in the boardroom he thought he'd controlled, surrounded by the legacy he thought was his. Outside, I called my assistant. Rebecca, I need you to send flowers. Of course. What's the occasion? A funeral. My mother's grave. White roses. Lots of them. Any message? I thought about the letter, the photos, the recommendation she'd written. Yes. I did it, Mom. Thank you. I hung up and stood in the parking garage, my heels echoing in the concrete silence. Rachel's contract was canceled. Blake's career was in shambles. Dad's company was mine, and I'd done it all without raising my voice, without cruelty, without becoming like them. Just by being exactly who I'd always been. Someone they'd underestimated. Someone they'd never bothered to see. Until now. The news spread fast. By evening, the fashion industry was buzzing. By the next morning, financial outlets were reporting the acquisition. By the end of the week, everyone knew. Elise Morgan, the quiet, unsuccessful daughter, had taken over her family's company. My phone exploded. Congratulatory messages from designers I'd mentored. Interview requests from Forbes, Vogue, Business Insider. Partnership offers from brands that had ignored me for years, and 3 texts from my family. Blake. We need to talk. Dad. Call me immediately. Rachel. What the hell is going on? I ignored all of them. Instead, I went to my flagship store in Soho, the one they'd never visited, and walked the floor. Customers browsed racks of my designs. Staff members greeted me with respect and warmth. The space hummed with creativity and success. This was mine. Built from nothing. Earned through sleepless nights and relentless work. And it was more valuable than anything my family had ever given me. Ms. Morgan? I turned. My store manager, Sophie, was holding a phone. There's a woman here asking for you. She says she's your sister. I looked toward the entrance. Rachel stood there, trying to look confident in her borrowed designer clothes, but her eyes betrayed her. She looked scared. Should I tell her you're unavailable? Sophie asked. I considered it. Considered letting her leave without answers. Considered keeping the upper hand. But I didn't become successful by avoiding difficult conversations. No, I'll talk to her. I walked over. Rachel's eyes widened as she took in the store. The high ceilings, the curated displays, the price tags that would make her gasp. "This is yours?" she whispered. "This is mine. Elise, I don't understand. How did you... Why didn't you tell us... Would you have believed me?" She opened her mouth, closed it. No answer. "Let's talk in my office." I led her upstairs to a private space overlooking the store floor. She sat down carefully, like the furniture might judge her. "The shoes you're wearing," I said. "Morgan Collective, Spring 2024 collection. Retail price $1,200. She looked down at her feet, confused. "The dress you wore to Mom's funeral? Valderie. That's one of my subsidiary brands. I own it." Her face went pale. "The boutique where you bought that handbag?" "Noir House. Mine. The perfume you're wearing right now?" "Licensed through one of my partnerships." "Stop." Her voice broke. "Just stop." "Why? You didn't stop when you called me a failure, when you offered me a job as your assistant, when you told me I had nothing to show for my life." Tears ran down her face, ruining her expensive makeup. "I didn't know," she whispered. "Exactly. You didn't know, and you didn't care to find out." I leaned back. "You assumed. You judged. You decided I was beneath you without ever asking what I'd actually accomplished." "I'm sorry." "Are you? Or are you just sorry you were wrong?" She didn't answer. "Your contract," I continued. "Marceau Collective canceled it because I instructed them to. I heard you mock a young designer at the charity gala last month, called her work pedestrian, made her cry in front of industry professionals." Rachel's face crumpled. "That was just... I was just... You were being cruel. And in my industry, cruelty doesn't get rewarded. Talent does. Kindness does. Humility does. So you're punishing me." "No. I'm teaching you the same lesson you tried to teach me." I stood. "That sometimes, the person you underestimate is the person who holds your future in their hands." I opened the office door. "You should go, Rachel." She stood, mascara streaked and broken. "For what it's worth," she said quietly. "Mom would be proud of you." "I know," she told me. Weeks passed. The restructuring of Morgan and Associates was brutal but necessary. Blake stepped down quietly, taking a consulting role that kept him employed but stripped of power. Dad remained on the board but attended meetings in silence, his authority replaced by my decisions. I didn't gloat, didn't humiliate them publicly, I just did the work. And the company responded. Within 2 months, client retention improved. Within 4, we'd secured 3 major accounts. Within 6, Morgan and Associates was profitable again. Turns out, competence matters more than legacy. But the real change happened at Thanksgiving. I didn't plan to attend the family dinner. Hadn't spoken to Dad or Blake or Rachel since the boardroom confrontation. Didn't see the point in performing happy family for the sake of tradition. But then I got a call. "Elise, it's Aunt Martha." I almost didn't answer. "I know you're probably not coming to dinner," she said. "But I wanted to tell you something. I went to your store last week. The one in Soho." "You did?" "I did. And it was magnificent. I bought 3 dresses, spent more money than I've spent in years, and I loved every second of it." I didn't know what to say. "Your mother used to tell me about your work," Aunt Martha continued. "She'd show me photos of your designs on her phone. She was so proud, Elise. So incredibly proud." My throat tightened. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. Sorry I treated you like a hobby entrepreneur when you were building an empire." She paused. "Come to dinner. Please. It won't be the same without you." So I went. I wore one of my own designs, a deep burgundy dress that cost more than the entire Thanksgiving spread. I pulled up in the Tesla, walked through the door holding a bottle of wine that could have paid someone's mortgage. The room went silent. Dad was at the head of the table. Blake and his wife sat stiffly. Rachel was there too, quieter than I'd ever seen her. Elise. Dad stood. You came. I came. He gestured to an empty chair. Please. Sit. I sat between Aunt Martha and my cousin Julia. The tension was suffocating. Should we say grace? Someone asked. Dad cleared his throat. Actually, I'd like to say something first. Everyone looked at him. He looked at me. I was wrong. The words hung in the air, strange and unfamiliar from his mouth. I spent your entire life underestimating you, dismissing your dreams, treating your career like a phase you'd grow out of. His voice cracked. And I'm sorry, Elise. I'm so deeply sorry. I didn't respond. Couldn't. Your mother tried to tell me, tried to make me see, but I was too proud, too stuck in my own vision of success to recognize yours. He picked up his glass. To Elise, the most successful Morgan in this room. Blake raised his glass reluctantly. Rachel did too, tears in her eyes. And slowly, everyone joined. To Elise. I lifted my glass, my heart pounding. This was what I'd wanted, wasn't it? Acknowledgement. Respect. Proof that I'd won. But sitting there, surrounded by family that had failed me and finally understood, I realized something. I didn't need their validation anymore. I never did. I'd already won. Not when I bought the company. Not when I humbled them in that boardroom. But when I built something beautiful from nothing. When I proved, to myself, that I was enough. Thank you, I said quietly. And for the first time in years, I meant it. After dinner, I helped Aunt Martha clear the dishes while everyone else drifted into the living room. Can I ask you something? She said, scrubbing a plate. Of course. Why didn't you tell us? About your success? Your company? She looked at me, genuinely curious. Why let us think you were struggling? I dried a glass slowly, considering. Because telling you would have changed the test. The test? I needed to know who you all were when you thought I had nothing. When there was no advantage to being kind to me. No benefit to respecting me. I set the glass down. People reveal their true selves when they think you can't hurt them. She was quiet for a moment. And what did you learn? That my family loved the idea of me more than the reality. That they preferred me small and manageable. That success was only valuable if it looked like theirs. That's harsh. It's true. I met her eyes. But I also learned who actually saw me. Mom did. You called to apologize. That matters. She pulled me into a hug, dish soap and all. From the living room, I heard laughter. Rachel telling a story. Blake making a joke. Dad listening quietly. They looked like a family. Maybe they always were. Maybe I was just finally in a position to see it clearly. You know what's funny? I said. I spent years being angry at them. Years planning this moment when I'd prove them wrong. But now that it's happened, I just feel tired. Revenge is exhausting, Aunt Martha said wisely. Victory is better. Is it though? She smiled. You tell me. You're the one who won. I thought about that. About the empire I'd built. The respect I'd earned. The power I now held. And I realized something. Winning wasn't about destroying them. It was about becoming so undeniably successful that their opinions stopped mattering. Later, as I was leaving, Rachel caught me at the door. Elise, wait. I turned. She looked different. Smaller somehow. Less polished. I've been thinking a lot about what you said. About being cruel. About the designer at the gala. She twisted her hands. I didn't realize... I knew I was being mean, but I didn't think it mattered. I thought that's just how this industry works. It doesn't have to. I know that now. She took a breath. I'm trying to be better. I got a job, actually. Retail. At a boutique downtown. It's not glamorous, but it's honest work. And I'm learning. Good. I was wondering, she hesitated, if maybe someday you'd let me work for you. Not as a model or anything, just as an employee, someone learning the business. I studied her. This was the sister who'd mocked me, belittled me, offered me a job as her assistant. But she was also the sister who'd shown up, broken and humbled, willing to learn. Maybe, I said. Someday. Her face lit up. Really? If you prove you've changed? If you show respect, kindness, and humility? If you remember what it feels like to be underestimated? I will. I promise. I nodded and walked to my car. Dad was standing on the porch, watching. Elise. I stopped. Drive safe. It wasn't an apology, wasn't a plea for forgiveness. Just a father, watching his daughter leave. And for the first time, I felt like he was actually seeing me. I will. I drove home through the city, past the buildings I'd once dreamed of conquering, past the life I'd once thought was impossible. And I smiled, because I'd done it. Not with cruelty, not with revenge, but with excellence. 6 months later, I stood on the TED stage in Vancouver. The lights were blinding, the audience was silent, and I was about to tell my story. My family thought I was a failure, I began. For years, they looked at me and saw someone who couldn't make it, someone who needed saving, someone who was wasting her potential on a dream that would never work. I paused, letting the words settle. They were wrong. The screen behind me lit up with photos, my first design, my first store, my flagship location, the boardroom where everything changed. I built a multi-million-dollar fashion empire while my family offered me pity jobs and career advice. I bought my brother's company while he tried to help me get serious about life. I became the boss of people who thought I was a charity case. The audience murmured. But here's the thing. I didn't do it to prove them wrong. I did it to prove myself right. To prove that quiet success is still success. That you don't need permission to build something extraordinary. That the people who underestimate you are giving you the greatest gift, invisibility. I smiled. When people underestimate you, they stop watching. They stop interfering. They give you space to become exactly who you're meant to be. And by the time they realize what you've built, it's too late. You've already won. The room erupted in applause. After the talk, my phone buzzed. A text from Mom's old number. From Dad. She'd be so proud. I'm proud too. I'm sorry it took so long to say it. I looked at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. I know. Thank you. And I meant it. Because revenge isn't making them hurt. Revenge is making them realize what they almost missed. If you want to hear more stories about people who were underestimated and came out on top, drop a comment below. And if you've ever been doubted by your own family, you're not alone. Keep building. Keep going. They'll see you eventually, or they won't. Either way, you'll have won.